Hi, and welcome to the GovCon Biz podcast, where I share my experiences with government contracting. My name is Linda Rawson, and today we are going to be talking about CMMC. Brian Hubbard and I discuss CMMC and what it means to government contractors. I think this episode is amazing. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Linda Rawson, and today on GovCon Biz podcast, I get the pleasure of talking to Brian Hubbard. He works for a company called Edwards Performance Solutions, and he is a cybersecurity expert, and today he's here to talk about CMMC. And so with that, I'll let Brian take the realm.
Okay, great. I like Linda said, I'm Brian Hubbard with Edwards Performance Solutions. We're a woman-owned small business out in Columbia, Maryland. We've been around for a long time, about 23 years when Steve Edwards founded the company. And I've been with them for about 3.5 years, running their as the director of commercial and cybersecurity. So I came to them from my own company. I started a small business about five years ago. Ran it for a couple of years, and then hooked up with the CEO of Edwards Performance Solutions, and decided that it made sense to merge our company. So they acquired my organization.
That's fantastic. Was it hard to make that move from owning your own company to going back to being a W-2?
It was kind of an interesting change because, I was kind of off on my own. And what I realized, though, I was heads down working for a client for about 3 months here in my basement. And I looked up in January, I believe it was, and said, "Oh, this project is about to end, and I don't have any more work coming because I haven't been marketing." So I decided I needed to talk to an organization about maybe joining them because they had the infrastructure and had the wherewithal to actually sell business while we were working on it.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes, and it seems like a tough move. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you learned so much about cybersecurity and in particular CMMC.
Sure. Yeah. So it's one of those stories. I started in a dirt poor town in Dunkirk, Indiana. Went to Purdue University and studied computer science at Purdue, and just really lucked into my first job. I literally lucked into it. Saw that NSA was the National Security Agency was coming to campus to interview. So of course I didn't know any. Had never heard of it, the National Security Agency. So I said, well, okay, I'll sign up. So I went and signed up. I met the criteria. Had the grade point average and interviewed. Got taken out to Baltimore, Maryland, for an interview, and it was the first time I'd ever flown on a jet plane, and the first time I'd ever been in a coastal city. So it was certainly an eye opener for my my Hoosier roots. But anyway, so I got the job at the National Security Agency and started in an organization called the National Computer Security Center. At the time, it was called that. They have went away since the reorgs in the government, but and worked there for about 5 years, studying under some of the luminaries in computer security. I had a real privilege of studying under some of the leaders in the field, and then followed them when they left the government. Followed them out to a small business in Maryland, and sort of worked with my mentors, and then ended up at Booz Allen after that. And worked for Booz Allen for 20 years, leading a big chunk of their cybersecurity business in the intelligence community. Did that for 20 years, and then moved on to another small company. Decided I wanted to get back into the small businesses, and so I stepped out of that and went into working at an organization, and I got to work with NIST. And in the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, I guess I should expand NIST. But and I had a real luck, pure dumb luck. I got involved with a project at NIST and had the opportunity to lead a team that was developing. It was a government and contractor team that was working on the development of what became known as the NIST cybersecurity framework. So I got the opportunity to facilitate the workshops and help with the workshops that were going on nationwide, kind of to figure out what does industry need in this framework that was intended. It was done under a presidential order under Obama administration, and it was really intended to help improve the cybersecurity of critical infrastructure. So it was industry from oil and gas, banking, hospitals, a very diverse group of folks. We had, I think, I want to say it was on the order of 4,000 people participating in these workshops across the country as we went throughout the year.
That's a lot of people to keep on track.
Yeah, we had 18 months to develop this document, and normally to get out to publication with a NIST standard, it's a lot longer than that. And so it was an opportunity to develop this document. It was developed, draft went out, got lots of feedback, and we adjudicated all the reviews. And then when it finally got published, it actually got rolled out by the White House.
Oh, wow.
So that was really cool. First time I'd ever had been on a project, in my career. So it's been sort of a really highlight of my career was to be able to go down to the White House and the executive office building and see the publication be rolled out by the administration.
Wow, that would be exciting.
Yeah, so it was really cool. And so, in the nice thing about the tool, the NIST cybersecurity framework, is that it lays out a way to structure an overall cybersecurity program for a business, and really focused on business risk as opposed to just purely cyber risk. So treating cyber risk as a business risk is really critical going forward, so that it helps organizations understand what they need to do from a cybersecurity perspective, but understand how to do that in their business context. So to really be able to succeed in business, and cyber being an enabler for that, and not just something that, a lot of people have this vision of cybersecurity as, that's that thing that makes me not be able to go on Facebook. That I can't do this and I can't do that because it's all about cybersecurity. Well, to some extent that might be the case, but in reality, what cybersecurity is through the framework you can do is actually design your program in a way that actually facilitates your business success. Because a small business, especially a small business, can be whacked by a hacker right. very quickly and put out of business just like that, right?
Right.
So if you're and I've known a few businesses that were, say, managed service providers or what have you, who didn't pay a lot of attention to their cybersecurity program, got infiltrated, got taken down, and in one case, a story that was publicized about a year and so ago, about 100 nursing homes were taken down. So no patient records could be accessed.
Oh, wow.
That sort of thing. From a managed service provider being attacked. So all of those things go into, sort of what my motivation is, I guess, for driving our business here at Edwards. We really focus on the cybersecurity program of businesses and helping them structure that program in a way that actually facilitates them being successful. And that's kind of led to all of our service offerings that we provide, everything from, really going in with cybersecurity strategy development, all the way to penetration testing and analysis. It's really all focused on how well is your cybersecurity program doing in your organization, and what do you need to do to continuously improve it.
And how do they find out about those programs? What's your website?
So our website is edwps.com. So that's short for Edwards, edwps.com. Edwards Performance Solutions is the PS part. And that's, you can go there and see all of our capabilities, services. Cybersecurity is just one of the things we do. We also are a program project management shop. we've been doing. That's really where the core root of Edwards started in the project and program management space, as well as training and development. So we do a lot of training with respect to project and program management. In fact, we're a PMI. I forget what the new acronym they just started, but it's one of their training partners with the Project Management Institute.
Yeah, I think it's PMP, but I'm not positive.
Oh, well, PMP is the certification, and I have one of those.
Okay.
But PMP is the certification. But the training program that we used to be called a registered education partner, REP, but now it's called something else. I'm sorry,
okay.
I forget what that program is called with PMI now. But anyway, what it means is that we can actually teach PMI courses that are PMI accredited. They're good for credits within the PMI structure.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I didn't treat that very eloquently, but it's not my main focus.
That's true. That's true. We're good. Yeah. The more real you are, the better.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, the 4-letter acronym that's on everyone's mind.
Yes.
And that would be CMMC, yes, in case you were thinking about another 4-letter acronym. But that seems to be the government contractors, up and coming thing that they want to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is coming along. So CMMC stands for the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. And it's a new standard, if you will, that the DoD has initiated. And it's really an evolution more than it is a new thing. It's really an evolution of something that was already required. It's been required since 2017 in contracts. And that's the DFARS clause that requires compliance with a NIST standard called NIST 800-171. And what was happening with that and the DFARS clause was it was really a self-attestation. So that the companies were asked, do you comply? And by signing the contract, you're saying, yes, I do comply with the NIST 800-171.
So, of course, what did everyone do?
They signed.
I comply.
Absolutely. And what the DoD realized over the last couple of years was that didn't improve cybersecurity in the defense industrial base one iota. So everybody was still wide open. Basically, you could comply even if you were compliant. All you had to do to comply was do a self-assessment and put together a plan of action and milestones that said, here's how I'm going to fix all my holes.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to actually fix them. You just had to have a plan to fix them. So a lot of that attestation was going on, and it was really still, holes were left wide open, and the information was still flying out of the DIB into places where we didn't want that information to go. So CMMC, the whole ecosystem around CMMC that's being developed is really intended to be a harder line, right? So the DoD is going to require in the DFARS, as they update this clause, the DFARS clause, they're going to require CMMC compliance at least to a level 1. So all 300,000 defense industrial base members, basically everybody that wants to do business or does business with the DoD or aspires to do business with the DoD, is going to have to comply with CMMC. And
we've noticed it. It was in the 8A Stars 3 solicitation.
Right. And the interesting thing is that's not even a DoD contract, right? Yeah. So that's a GSA contract. So GSA jumped the gun a little bit on DoD and put that in their, which is good because it raised awareness.
Right.
We're getting lots and lots of calls from Stars 3 competitors, I guess you would say, that need help in figuring out what this means to them. So CMMC, the whole infrastructure around CMMC, it's intended to, companies will have to get certified by an independent third party. It's called a C3PAO, which stands for a Certified Third Party Assessment Organization. So they'll have to contract with a C3PAO to come out and essentially doing
It sounds kind of like
audit.
that Star Wars.
Yeah, C3PO.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we're not as geeky as that guy.
Right.
But when you get audited, right? So that costs money, and the companies are going to have to invest and spend the money to get ready for that audit, and then pay an auditor to come in and audit them. Now the DoD is providing for these being allowable costs, which basically means you can build it into your rates and recover the costs over time. Now there's pros and cons to that, right? I mean,
right.
That's small businesses don't really want to put their rates higher.
Right. You don't win with high rates.
You don't win with high rates. So saying it's an allowable cost does kind of mocks nicks, and it really doesn't matter. Let's see what else about CMMC. So the most critical thing with it is to be ready, because, like I said, in starting later this fall. So I believe the target is sometime in October, November to have the DFARS clause changed.
Yeah, I believe so too. We can look it up.
It was originally August. Now it's, because of COVID, it's moved. But it's contracts will start having it in the early 2021. So the expectation is that it'll start showing up in contracts in early 2021. So over a 5-year cycle. So they're in the 5-year award cycle, of contracts, they expect all DoD contractors over 5 years to become certified. So what that means is there's 300,000 companies that have to get certified in 5 years. That's a lot of companies to get certified in 5 years. So if you aren't ready when you go and ask for a certification, you get in queue, right, with the limited resource, which is going to be the C3PAOs are going to be a limited resource. You get in queue to get an assessment. If you aren't ready and you fail the first time, not only do you get to pay them again to come back, but you have to get in queue again. So if you have a contract coming up, say in 6 months, 9 months, and you aren't ready and you go for an audit and you fail, well, what if you can't get it back in the queue for another 9 months? It's very possible that could be a limiter for you. So what we're doing at Edwards is working as hard as we can to help as many companies as we can get ready early. It's going to take many companies. It's going to take months to not only to understand what are their gaps in compliance with CMMC, but then also what do they need to do in remediation to get fully compliant so that they can be certified. Because, hey, you have to be 100% compliant. It's not like previous 800-171 where you could just say, I'm gonna fix this over the next couple of years. That doesn't work. That doesn't fly. That's not allowed. You have to be 100% compliant in order to be certified.
Yeah, it's kind of a daunting thing. Although when I looked at the requirements, especially for level 1, it's really not that bad.
Yeah, level one is only 17 practices. It's talked about as, basic cyber hygiene. Some folks in the DoD like to say, oh, everybody does that. Well, I'm here to tell you they don't. There's many companies that we work with that if they had to certify today against level 1, they wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, isn't one of the most basic things just 2-factor authentication?
Well, so that's a pretty basic thing, and other basic things are, virus scanning and making sure that your systems are configured correctly. That's sometimes a more daunting challenge than you might think. Making sure that those systems are up to snuff. It's not that hard. Especially for small businesses who work with an MSP. But it's one of those factors you need to build into your MSP contract. And say, hey, my system has to be protected in this way. If I have federal contract information, FCI, which is appropriate for level 1, I have to be able to protect that information. So how are you protecting me, MSP? What are the processes you have in place? What are you doing for me? How are you helping me get my systems up to snuff? My PCs, my laptops, my cell phones, if I'm going to be processing information on those. how are you protecting me? How are we doing this? And make sure it's a team effort, because the company is responsible, not the MSP. So if the DoD, stops doing business, they don't care if it's the MSP's fault that you don't comply, right?
Right.
You're the one that's going to lose business. So you have to make sure that it's in your contracts with those MSPs. And what we're finding, so level 1 is great, is the entry point, right? So every contractor has to be at least level 1. Level 3 is really the next true break point, because level 2 is sort of an intermediate thing that they don't expect any contracts to require level 2. They expect them to go right to level 3. Level 3 is when you're processing controlled unclassified information. So in the old terminology, right, if you're in a contract and you're getting for official use only data, or have gotten it on your contracts, that's CUI. Okay, so that's one of the many categories of CUI. And so if the government's labeling it that way, you have to protect it that way, and it's something that you're going to have to be prepared for. What most of the companies that we're talking to, and this is sort of the feel across the industrial base that in the circles that I've been running in, is that everybody's sort of preparing for level 3. While level 1 is the entry point, it's really not a realistic entry point for most companies, because the contracting officer has to specify what the level is, right? So they're going to have guidelines and things from the acquisition officials in the Pentagon. They're going to have guidelines, which are great, but it's going to be hard for the contracting officers, especially on big omnibus contracts, to discern what parts of this contract should I, right out of the chute in the RFP, say are going to be level 1 requirements, what are going to be level 3 requirements, what are going to be level 4 or 5 requirements.
Right.
Because they're sending out an RFP to industry to feedback, right? So they don't know how to specify it. And historically, that's kind of been the case. I mean, back in the way back in the 80s, when we used something called the Trusted Computer Security Evaluation Criteria, right? The idea was that was supposed to be built into contracts that were buying large systems. Okay? And every time it defaulted, okay, I won't go into all the levels that was, but they had a level called B2. And it was one step below the highest mark, right? So that's where everybody went. Every contract specified you had to have a B2 system, even if it didn't make it one lick of sense. That's what they specified, right? Because they didn't know any better.
Right.
And so then it was up to the contractors in negotiation phase or in implementation to argue that it didn't really need to be B2, or only this piece needs to be and not this piece. If I'm, think about it. If I'm on a big contract, I'll just make up a wild case, right? If I'm a supplier of toilet paper, right? But I'm coming into the Army through a contract that also builds very specialized weapon systems. Listen, it's a wild case, it's a made up case, right? But if I'm selling through that contract and have the specifications for my toilet paper coming through that contract, it's liable to get tagged with a high level requirement for security because of those intelligence systems or those high level systems that are being built through that same contract. So unless the contracting officers are savvy, and unless the prime contractors do a good job in negotiating with the CO all along the way, it's going to be very difficult for them to do anything other than a level 3.
So what's been the most effective way to get awareness about CMMC out there?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of webinars, a lot of press. We've done a few webinars on it. A lot of stuff in FedBiz magazines, all the trade magazines and that sort of thing for federal businesses. So it means that certainly going to this if you go to the CMMCAB.org website. That's a good source of information about it, and the whole ecosystem around CMMC. And just, make sure you're immersing yourself in the regulation and understanding what it is. Um, and seek help early. That's one of the keys.
So how are you guys? Are you guys authorized to be one of those auditors then?
So
And what
no,
was
not
that process?
yet.
And what was that
Yeah.
process like?
So we're not yet, and neither isn't. Nobody is. Okay.
Ah,
That's. I can't. I would love to stake the claim that we are, but we are not. We're applied for it. We plan on being a C3PAO and also a registered provider organization, which is sort of a consulting side of things. And Edwards is also going to also be a trainer, so we're going to train people on it as well. But all of that is still, all that infrastructure, all of that sort of ecosystem is still being developed by the CMMC accreditation body. So they haven't got to the point that they can actually certify anybody yet.
and is that a commercial body, or is that
it's a not-for-profit?
Oh, okay.
But it's sort of a not-for-profit that has it's the only not-for-profit that has an MOU with the DoD that allows them to do this. So they will be the ones that actually give a company the stamp of approval. So when the DoD goes to find out whether somebody is certified, they will look to the CMMCAB for that to know whether it's true or not.
Interesting. And so, how many people do you think applied to be auditors? Like thousands?
Well, the last count I had, there were 300 companies.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
I don't know about individuals. Really, to meet the demand, I think the CMMCAB is counting on there being about 1,000 C3PAOs companies to do this. I would love to be Edwards be number one, but I don't. It doesn't really matter whether we are or not. We're gonna help companies on both sides of things. So if we help a company get ready, in order to maintain independence and to really have the certification mean something, we cannot actually be their auditor, right? So you can
right.
You can either help a company get ready, or you can help a company at the end do the audit. You can't do both.
Oh, well, so, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
That's like inspecting your own plane that you worked on.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, I'd rather have an independent look at my airplane before I fly it. That's right.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or don't get in the plane.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So what have been the biggest challenges so far?
With CMMC?
Uh-huh.
So I think the biggest challenge is COVID, for sure. It's delayed a lot of the process, a lot of the initiatives.
And what happened to you during COVID? What have you been working at home?
I have been, yeah. So my whole team has been. It was a pretty easy transition actually for us to just go stay at our houses and work remotely. We use Microsoft Teams and collaborate every day, and kind of keep the team spirit alive there and keep things going. But because of the nature of our work, we can work with an organization remotely just easily. The toughest thing when we go out to do an assessment of an organization, the toughest thing is there's a physical piece of it. So we haven't quite figured that piece out yet, other than we'd have somebody walk around with their cell phone and show us what does the server room security look like. And show us your alarm system, show us your fire system, that kind of thing. But other than that, our business is kind of business as normal. We can do interviews over the phone, over Teams or over Skype or Zoom, whatever the client wants to use, and that makes it pretty straightforward to do. And actually, it's easier to schedule. We think about it, normally we would do in-person interviews, in-person discussions. Well, that means there's a travel time, there's conflicts, you go to talk to a client and all of a sudden they get 1,000 fire drills running, so they get 15-minute delayed or whatever. Right. So the efficiencies around doing this remotely actually make it easier.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, when I was
my question is, a lot of people, my business included, we don't have a server. Like all of our stuff's on the cloud.
Right.
So does that make it more difficult or easier?
Yeah, it really depends. That's a very not answer. It's a safe answer, though. It depends. But it really, what makes it depend is whether or not, if you're processing controlled unclassified information, can your
Okay.
cloud service provider protect that information in accordance with the regulations? So there's different ways to do that. Probably the easiest button, if you're looking for an easy button, going to one of the FedRAMP approved cloud service providers.
Okay.
Is the way to is an easy button as far as making sure that everything is sort of structured. It's a U.S. only, managed servers. Everything's encrypted. Yada yada yada. All the a lot of things come with that. So that helps. If it's not, you have some more work to do. You have to make sure that your cloud service provider is doing things according with the regulations. You have to make sure that your agreements with them are in place and help let you have the insight into what they're doing and how they're managing your data. And then for level 3, you're going to have services provided that actually monitor the performance of the system so that you understand whether something bad is happening within your systems as well. So
good.
Yeah.
So let's get a little personal. I always like to know what people are about.
Sure.
So what do you do for fun?
I work. It's great fun. No, I have 2 grandkids, and have a great time with them swimming in the pool. And I also, although I haven't done it in a while, I love to get out and golf. And shop for boats. And I say shop for boats, so I'm window shopping for boats. But that's it'll feed my dream of retirement someday. So.
You're retire to a yacht?
That's my plan. I don't know if my wife agrees with that, but I certainly do.
So obviously, COVID, you shifted from an office to home. Did you have any challenges with motivation? It sounds like you really love what you do, so it's no problem. But
I really love what I do, and enjoy working with companies and helping them out. And I have a great team. I mean, my kudos to my team. I'd love to take credit for all of them, but some of them came with 35 years of experience, and just like me, and I just was lucky to grab them. Others we hired right out of college. They're members of our team, and they're just rock stars. And everybody's super motivated. We've had an opportunity during COVID, even though we've had some downtimes, right, because of people just not really knowing what to do or not waiting on to see the fallout of COVID before they buy services. Because they weren't even sure where they would need the services. Are they going to need them at their home? Are they going to need them in the office? Where are they going that sort of thing. So there has been some downtime, but during that downtime, we actually were able to make a lot of progress and build some really good assessment processes and tools that really make our process much more efficient.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of positive things come out of COVID. I mean, it's also a scary virus, but there has been a lot of really being able to clarify your future and getting your goals and your niches and being able to really market effectively.
Right.
So there's been and some team cohesiveness, because you are having to not meet in person. So to make sure all of your conversations are carried online to towards the common goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's your favorite business tool or resource?
Well, I'll tell you, lately it's been Microsoft Teams, and I'm not a Microsoft fan. Don't get me wrong.
What?
Microsoft Teams has been a real boom for us, because we've been able to really do a lot of great collaboration amongst the team and even with our clients. And when we're doing some large systems, normally you have to set up some artificial server in order to get artifacts and things from the assessment and serve it. And if they're a Microsoft Team shop, they can just set up a Microsoft Team, invite us in as guests, and we can go in, and all of data stays with the client. and we can just go in and be a part of their team. So it's a great tool. That's a great tool. And we've been starting to see a lot more improvement in it. COVID, that's the other thing COVID has done. It actually kicked, because of products like Zoom, which we're on right now, it's kicked Microsoft in the behind. And so they got a lot of things out on Teams and really improved that product quite a bit over the last 6 months. So it's
yeah, I definitely at first was wondering, the audio wasn't great. There's still some things like if you share your screen, the audio goes silent. I mean, so there is still some things, I'm sure some kinks that they're working out, but it gets better and better.
Yeah, we've had pretty good luck with it. My biggest gripe is you can only have 9 windows. 9 squares.
Well, that is a big gripe. I love Windows.
Yeah, right.
I like Zoom, to have like 25 tabs open.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I mean within the like a call.
Right.
Yeah, you can have 9 people on the call and see their pictures.
Yep, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a down.
Well, it depends on what they're doing. Like maybe they don't want to show their picture.
That's right. Yeah. Luckily, all my team turns on their cameras.
So tell me about that jersey in the background.
Oh, that's a Ray Lewis Pro Bowl jersey. So we're Ravens fans here because we're in Maryland.
What?
Yeah, gotta love the Ravens. And actually, that belongs to my oldest son, who his house right now is he doesn't have a space for it that his wife will let him put it. So it's still hanging here in my basement office. So
sounds like his loss.
That's right. Hey, I'll keep it. That's fine. Someday he'll come and get it, and I'll have a big spot on my wall I need to fill.
Okay. Well, I think we're just about ready to wrap up. Do you want to tell them your website again?
Sure. It's edwps.com. And just want to talk about a little bit of, back on CMMC, we actually, I mentioned that we developed some really cool processes during COVID.
Uh-huh.
One of them was we realized that small businesses really needed a way to get started cost effectively with CMMC, and they couldn't afford to have a full-blown assessment when they don't even know where to start, and have somebody come out and do a $20,000, $30,000 assessment for them just is not feasible. So we've designed a way to do what we call a CMMC Quick Look. For a level 1, it ends up being $2,500, and for a level 3, it's $5,000. And that helps. It provides a pretty robust robust report that actually gives you a plan of action and milestones of what and a roadmap of what to do and how to fill your gaps based on a questionnaire that we send you online. So it is a very fast and efficient way to really understand what your next steps are with respect to CMMC. And so companies that are taking advantage of that are really getting a leg up to try to get their process started.
And then once you guys become certified auditors, then they're a shoe-in, right? They're in the queue.
Well, I can't say they're a shoe-in, right? I mean, obviously, we tell them what to do, and if we're in there helping them, I'm hoping we're helping them correctly, and they will get certified. So, yes, absolutely.
And so, Brian, how can they get a hold of you? Are you on LinkedIn?
I am. I'm on LinkedIn. Okay. And also my email is bhubbard@edwps.com.
Perfect. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure today. You are very knowledgeable and very fun. I've enjoyed our conversation a lot.
Yeah, I have too.
And would you like to say anything else, or?
No, actually, there is a landing page for that quick look that I talked about.
Uh-huh.
And it's edwps-cmmc.com. And if you go there, there's a landing page. You can put in your information and see a sample document and a short demo video will be up there. And then we'll reach out to you and find out how we can help you.
Perfect. We'll post that link in the comments.
Great.
For sure.
Great.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I hope that you learned more about CMMC, and I look forward to more conversations with Brian especially once they become an auditor, which should be shortly.
I'm hoping.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Linda.
Hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, the book recommendations, links, courses, and items that